Okay, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Alistair McCallum. I'm a trustee of the Friends of Insch Hospital, and until a couple of years ago I chaired the committee.
Thank you. What is the history of Insch Hospital?
Well, it was built following the First World War in 1922. It opened, and obviously to commemorate the young people from the area, many of whom were young farmers, incidentally, or worked on the land, who went off to fight in the war. It's changed on a number of occasions over the years that it's been on the go, and it was built by public subscription from the residents of Insch, but changed in 1948 when the health service was set up to become an NHS resource, and they took over the running and the payments for it. Up until then it had all been community led. 1988, I think, we built the day room extension on the other side of the hospital, and it's had a number of incarnations. Unfortunately, most of them have been kind of negative. They've been about a diminution of service rather than an increase in services. So the maternity unit has gone. The minor injuries unit, which could easily be accommodated, has gone. We don't have an X-ray facility, which we could have. We don't have a dental chair. There are so many things that could have been done to make the hospital more viable, but they've not been allowed to happen.
Okay, could you introduce yourself, please?
Hello, I'm Alison Grant and I am a resident of Insch, and I'm also the Vice Chair of the Friends of Insch Hospital.
Perfect. How did the heart campaign come about?
Well, it came about because I was speaking to a friend who's a local artist, and she'd been telling me about a project called Craftivism, which has been running around in the country. There was a BBC programme about it, and basically what it is a movement through craft. So a movement, whatever people believe in, through craft. And she was suggesting that we use our heart logo, because we'd introduced the heart logo on Valentine's Day. She was suggesting that we got the community all to create hearts representing our love for our local hospital. And so this is exactly how it started. And throughout the community, rural community, all of our residents in rural areas within the town, far and wide, from Rothy Norman to Meikle Wortle, were making hearts, beavering away, and we created this living sculptures of hearts that ran from all around here, through the trees, right up to the gate of the hospital, as if the hospital was sharing its love and sending out to the community. And basically we asked people to come and take a heart and display a heart in their window to show how much they cared about the hospital. And the point of it all was to raise the reality that the hospital has been closed since March last year. Shut because of COVID, we understood that, but it has remained closed to inpatients, and we have had no reassurance from NHS Grampian throughout the last year that it will reopen again. So we really felt it was necessary to alert the community, to ask them to display their heart and become engaged in anything that will help us to reopen the hospital with inpatient beds, which is vital in this rural community.
Introduce yourself, please.
Hi, I'm James Flett. I'm current Vice Chair at Geary Young Farmers.
What has Geary Junior Agricultural Club done to support Insch Hospital and the Friends of Insch Hospital in the past?
We've done quite a lot this past few years, done a lot of fundraising to help support the hospital, because we know it's an integral part of the community. And we've done fundraisers such as quiz nights, Sunday teas, and also we have an annual muck sale which raises lots of money, and most of it goes to Friends of Insch Hospital. As we know, it's under threat of being closed down, and it's so valuable to this community. We also help out in their annual fair, the Strawberry Fair, at the start of June. We have our own stall, and all our proceeds go towards the hospital as well. Also, members will stay back after the fair and help take down all marquees and tents, and just give a little bit back to the community. We're also in talks with helping to spruce up the hospital by painting benches and just general tidying up, just to make it look as pretty as it does.
Okay, can you introduce yourself, please?
Hi, I'm Emma and I'm the Secretary of Geary Young Farmers.
What has Geary Junior Agricultural Club done to support the Heart campaign?
So far we have done a baler on the main road from Insch to Inverurie to support the Have a Heart campaign. We did a little just a baler that says Geary Young Farmers loves Friends at Insch Hospital. We're also in talks to support the campaign a wee bit more using our social media platform and our connections with SAYFC.
Is closure until COVID is resolved. I don't think we can argue against that, although I don't understand why it hasn't affected other community hospitals just as much, James. But in the long term, this decision won't be dealt with and met by local officials. If the hospital is going to remain open, it will be a political decision. If the hospital is going to be closed, equally it will be a political decision. And we're not that far away from the last election, and Nicola Sturgeon was here and promised that she would do all in her power to ensure that the hospital, she was appalled at the thought of the hospital being closed, and she certainly promised me personally, and said it, maybe unfortunately in front of a journalist, no, I won't forget, I won't forget Insch War Memorial Hospital. So I'm sure she'll live up to it. And Alexander Burnett, thanks Alison.
Yes. Well, he certainly promised that he would do everything he could to reopen the minor injuries unit and also the hospital. And he spoke about how his wife was born here, and so he has a real commitment and connection to this hospital. So politically, we're standing in good stead, and we are really relying and hoping that they will get behind us with our campaign.
How can Geary Junior Agricultural Club support the Friends of Insch Hospital and Insch Hospital in the future?
Well, I mean, one of the things that I feel is, I mean, you've done so well with the bales and, you know, supporting the Have a Heart campaign, and it's really keeping that focus on the hospital, the reality of the situation at the moment. In terms of fundraising, we're really not really able to fundraise at the moment because we have no surety from NHS Grampian about the future of the hospital. And over many, many years, we've been trying to secure that future. You know, the Friends have worked tirelessly and used the funds that have been given to us by the community to try to secure the future. I mean, with the day room over there, I think it was £30,000 that we raised, that the community raised, to contribute to the cost of that day room. But anyway, sorry, I was going to go on to ask, what is the area that the Young Farmers, what area does it serve?
So we're based, I would say, Insch is our main hub really, and then we've got a lot of villages outside, such as Leslie, Oignal Drain, Kennethman, as far as Rhiney. And quite a lot it depends on the two local academies, Hutley and Inverurie. It depends. A lot of people will go which way their friends want to go. So, but mostly we're located just a 5-10 mile radius of Insch.
Okay. I mean, from Insch, that's very similar to the patient population, although ours is larger in actual fact. The patient population that this hospital serves is 6,600, which is only 200 less than Huntly. And you wouldn't think it. It's always called Insch War Memorial Hospital, but it really is very well placed to serve the whole of central Aberdeenshire. So yes, I think that's an illusion that it's a tiny little hospital with a tiny number of beds.
It's been made tiny over the years. It's part of what I was saying earlier about the almost death by 1,000 cuts. You know, that if you want to make something go away or disappear, you really just chop off little bits, infinitesimally small, and suddenly you've chopped off an arm or a leg. The gutters, for example, if Peter gets a chance later on maybe to show them, they've not been maintained, they've not had any work done on it. The NHS they're allowing the building to deteriorate because eventually water will get inside the building and cause wet or dry rot. And that's where the Young Farmers are a tremendous asset to us because, well, damn it, they'll get up and make sure that the gutters don't leak and the gutters are kept and maintained. And that's great. You know.
Hugely valuable to have that belief and love for the hospital, and that is represented throughout the whole of this community, especially our farming community. So very grateful.
Yeah. Farming and agriculture is a huge part of the Aberdeen economy, has been historically. Not just looking after the land, but the culture of the northeast of Scotland through its poets like Flora Gary and John C. Milne. Wonderful poems that have been written about Benny Goat and farming life. I don't know if you're familiar with the poem Benny Goat by Flora Gary. The last 4 lines go.
go for it, Alistair, go for it.
But my mother likes her own fireside. This is a farm that's really past its sell-by date and needing to pass on. My mother loves her own fireside. 'Twould break her heart to leave. No, shit. Sorry. My mother's growing, take 2, but my mother's growing old and dean. She likes her own fireside. 'Twould break her heart to leave the hill. It's bracken mine to bide. This was our daughter writing about it. So, culture, community is what farming's all about. The farming community bonds together, keeps together, works together. The farming community have helped over the years and will continue to help with communal facilities for the village. You know, that's tremendous.
I think it is very disappointing with regards to the number of beds that we laterally had here, because we only had 5 beds active, and that was simply down to staffing and not anything to do with patient need. And there's no doubt that providing inpatient beds locally in a rural economy is vital in terms of palliative care and rehabilitation. To have services locally, it's a fact.
Minor injuries.
And minor injuries, yes. I mean, and it's just essential. So we're very keen that when we do have this engagement with NHS Grampian and over this next 6 months, that we provide them with the evidence that they require to prove that this hospital is vital.
That 5 beds don't seem a lot, but it saves someone going to Huntly and Brewery, Aberdeen. They can stay in their hometown. And
but it's only within the last year. It's within the last 9 months. It's been reduced to 5. It was 12 beds, James, including the palliative care suite, which we call the Marquis suite. And I can't help but feel that that's been a big loss to the community. Is the loss of the Mackies. Both Hollis, who was a GP here for 40 years, and Maitland, her husband, Maitland Marquis, did a huge amount in the community. And Maitland opened doors for people and for their friends. Quick off the phone to NHS Chief Executive or relevant people, didn't bother who Maitland who he was talking to. He didn't feel any barriers. And losing them, they both died within 6 months of one another, sadly, 2 years ago. That's been a blow, a real blow to us.
I mean, I think we're just so grateful from the Friends' perspective for groups like yourselves to have continually and persistently fundraised to give us the funds to help us to try to secure the future. And everybody believes in the future of this hospital, which has got to try to get Aberdeenshire Health and Social Care Partnership to understand how vital it is and to help us to secure that future.